Okay, I hope this is going to be a quick video on how to set up clay renders. Usually renders with no reflections or anything like that in it. So I've got an existing file. This is my Corsair. So first off, you'll work in the single view here. And if you click on perspective and you go to show safe frames, you'll get this yellow line here that's the actual render area. That way you can set up your shot to fill up the entire window. So you'd know exactly what's going to show up in your render. The pitot tube's not in there. Just want everything to fit. And if you do a test render, okay, it looks like I have things set up already. So I'm just going to go in here and set this up so it's how you would find it normally, which is nothing set up there. And for this to turn out right, you're going to need a floor plane. So the first thing we'll do is create a floor plane. So zoom way out, make it nice and big. That way it'll take up most of the space. I like to go right to the move tool and get it at the center of the world first. And then I'll push it down. You can see I got a tricycle gear here, so it's not going to really line up unless I tilt the ground plane or the airplane. It'd be a lot better to just tilt the ground plane. So with the ground plane selected, I'll use the quick align tool, which if you do a long press here, you'll see the little lightning bolt, meaning it's a quick align tool. And we'll just quickly align it to this tire, and I'll come down here to X to center the plane, center the ground plane, that is. And then I'm going to move it down so that we're just at the bottom of the tire, just making some contact. Good way to look at that would be from underneath. Just starting to make contact with the tires is nice. So now when we pivot, which I'll click the left and then U on the keyboard to get to orthographic, and the ground plane's pretty big, so alright. So I'm going to get to the rotate tool here, and I'm in increments, so I want to uncheck the snap toggle. I'll bring that up till it touches the tire, rear tire. And again, you can check in perspective view, hit the B on the keyboard, and it's like I'm not seeing that wheel stick through, so if you let it stick through a little bit, you end up with a more realistic tire pattern. Looks like it's kind of flat. And G on the keyboard will turn off grid, and you can also see, here's another little tip, oops, that if you have J, if you have these little bounding lines showing where your object is, it's really just a way to highlight that object to let you know that's what's selected. J on the keyboard will get rid of that for all objects. So now if you pick anything, you won't see it. The default behavior would be that everything shows a bounding box, and that can get kind of irritating after a while, so that's always off for me anyways. Okay, so now I'm going to want to give a material to the ground, and it doesn't really matter what you pick. This is just a gray color on this one anyways. So maybe you go to a darker gray would look good, something like that. Okay, so now we need to go and set up one single light, and you'll find that under the Create tab here, under Lights, and you want a standard light set here, and we'll go to Skylight. When you place this light, it matters not one little bit where it's at. It's not going to make a difference if it's right over it, under it. It's an environmental light, meaning it's just going to light up the whole environment equally, and that's what we're looking for. So I'm going to move to the Edit tab. You see the Skylight is set here, and usually hit Cast Shadows before I set up the next thing. So now the next thing to set up right here is your render setup. It's important to go to your Advanced Lighting, and you want to set up your Light Tracer. Light Tracer is going to actually have the light bounce off the plane and onto the ground, and You get reflections everywhere, all that good stuff. A few settings though is I usually bump up my ray sample to about 650, and usually about 2 bounces. These are the only 2 fields that I really worry about. So it'd be the ray slash samples and bounces. So now that that's set up, let's cancel that. Now that that's set up, we can close this box and set the shot up. And if you hold down on the middle mouse button and hold Control and Alt on the keyboard, you'll get the zoom controls without shifting tools or doing whatever. It's a nice little keyboard shortcut. Okay, we'll see how that works out. Just let it render in real time. I don't have any specular set up, so there's nothing shiny, there's nothing reflective, and that's what makes a clay render a clay render. I do have a rendering tutorial that can still be found on my website, which probably won't be lasting much longer. You can see how the having the show safe frames on is really helpful, because we was able to frame that shot up really nice. And you can always play with colors of stuff. I'll pause this and come back when it's done. Okay, that's finished. You can see that it's not too dark around these areas. So there's a few things we can do. Your multiplier here, it's a little bright. You can adjust in this area. Change your multiplier down to maybe 0.85, and see how that works. And actually, let's go to the material color, which gets brightened up quite a bit. Go just a little darker with that. Alright, we'll hit another render. I'll be back when it's done. Okay, and then this would be the result. A little darker. Looks more like a clay. Probably set up another more dramatic shot. Only take a few more seconds on the video. I mean, I don't know if it's more dramatic or it's just... Okay, and we'll render this one out. Okay, and then that's how this one ended up. You could still continue to add lights, if I remember right. I'll close this out and zoom out, set up a shot, use the target spot, and I'll run this target. And these objects are, this target is an actual object. That's just a text message. So I can make the target of this light, I can just quick align it to the fuselage. And the light is actually under here. I'll select the light and see that it controls the aim like such. And we'll just try to set up something in Word. Now under the Edit tab, I'm going to want to go to I haven't done this in a while, so I'm going to turn shadows on for sure, and I'm going to leave the intensity where it's at. I can advanced effects, there we go. I'm going to go to ambient only, or let's see, I'm sure I'm going to get this wrong. Maybe it's on diffuse only. I'm going to go with ambient. That's how I'm remembering it right now. It's been a little while. It seems like it's a little far up. Let's drag it down. Alright, let's see how this affects the shot. Line it up. I'll be right back. Okay, so that would be once the spotlight's working. I had to make a few changes. Under shadows, you can only do this while there's no render taking place, by the way. This would normally be on shadow map. I changed this to advanced ray trace because if you remember right, up here in the advanced lighting we're using the light tracer, and right here is the advanced ray traced. So it's all about tracing the rays of the light source, so that's how that works. Trying to see if I can cover everything here. You can always turn this light off and do another render, and you'd end up with just the original clay. Turn it back on. A lot of the setup has to do with the lights. One more thing of note would be if you're in your main material, which I have several copies here of my main material, and this is what you normally would see. If you go down to maps, you can see where you could enter in, say under your specular level, you could add your spec map in here and all that stuff, and maybe you've done that. These all need to be empty except for your diffuse color, which would be your standard TGA. If you have anything else filled in here, have any values for it set, any of these check marked, then you're not going to get the clay effect. So I think that covers it all. Any other questions, you can post it in the same thread that I post the video in. Thanks a lot.